My first question for you, the best voiceover advice that you have ever received.
Received.
I was going to say seen, but no, that would be weird.
That's I've got to really think about that because I give so much advice as a coach and as a teacher, and but every bit of advice that I give to my students, I have been told by someone else. Truly. So, really, God, what is something I tell my students that I know I've learned? Because you have to constantly be coaching and constantly be learning, no matter where you are in your career. So I'm always coaching and learning. The headsets are trying to kill me. Oh gosh, let me think for a second. Best advice I've ever received. Oh, well, I'll tell you, I had some really great advice recently that's kind of flipped the script for me. And it was from a copywriter. And I've been telling my students this too. And this is the thing. I'm 23 years into my career and you're always learning. And I'm a good actor, so I always do a good job. I'm always talking to one person. I'm trying to really connect emotionally with that person. But a copywriter friend of mine, we were having a discussion, and he said, when we issue the specs for voiceover, we always speak in terms of what we want the voice to sound like, right? The specs will say, a voice that's calm, reassuring, comforting, warm, right?
Yeah.
He said, I wish we didn't speak in those terms. Because I get a lot of voice actors trying to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
And when I say I want a voice that's calm and comforting and warm, what it means is I want a voice that makes my listener feel comforted, feel safe, feel protected. And so I went, wow. And so the next few auditions after that, I'm like, okay, not only am I talking to a person, but I'm going to make you feel that you can trust me.
Right.
I'm going to make you feel comfortable. I'm going to make you feel happy.
Yeah.
And out of my head suddenly with how I sound. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But what am I doing to the person I'm talking to?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you feel calm. I'm going to let you be settled and make you feel calm. And that was just a fun, you're always trying to find new approaches to the way you approach these auditions that we do when the language is often the same and repetitive and
Or you're talking about irritable bowel syndrome.
yes, which by the way, I was driving home yesterday and your Linzess spot was on MSNBC and CNN at the same time. So I kept flipping back and forth. And that's another thing, listening to what other people do. I listen. I've done some spec pharmaceuticals, but I've never booked in the pharmaceutical world. So because I know you, I listen to it and I go, what's Mike doing there? Bob Bergen said once that he posts a lot of stuff and he said, voiceover is a 24-hour thing now. You got to be available whenever they need you. Got to have your travel rig and be wherever. And because of different time zones, he got a call from a client once that needed to record something right away, and it was late in the evening his time. And he'd had like 2 glasses of wine already. He said it was the best gig I ever done. And Jeffrey will sometimes say, give me your take per the specs, and then do one when you 2 glasses in or whatever.
Yeah.
Means different things for him,
Right.
different things for all of us. I don't condone drinking on the job, but I mean, it's just you're always looking for ways to get out of your head or approach things in a new way.
Yeah.
So, and you have to do that
Just to shake it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a business about reinventing yourself. Always learning and growing. The trends change, you change, you grow. So when the copywriter said that, I went, wow, that made it more fun for me.
Yeah.
Terry Berland is a really good casting director who coaches too. And she, I had a kind of a breakthrough moment with her too. Again, late in my career, because you've got to always be coaching. But and I have kept that with me. Like I still tend to do that with auditions when you think about it.
Yeah.
And so I tell my students that too. And I've actually seen a change in my students since I've been sharing that with them. Because so many people come into voiceover and think they have to sound a certain way.
Right.
And I've always been told I have a good voice.
Yeah.
But it's really what you do to your listener. That's what acting is, period.
Yeah.
Acting is
totally.
making the other person feel something,
Yeah.
right? Your point of view, your whatever it is. So
And it
that's
gets the focus off of yourself. So it really does
absolutely
a service for us.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's along the same lines of something else I wanted to ask, but what makes a great voiceover talent? You just said so many people come in and say like, oh, I have this great voice. I must do voiceover. But that is such a small
part
percentage.
of it. Yeah. I think 2 things. The first thing that makes a good voice talent is a really good actor.
Mm.
And that's someone who may not be the best actor now, but knows that they have to study that craft and that they're going to be different a year from now and a year down the line and 10 years down the line because they're always studying and understand this as a craft. It is a form of creative communication, just like giving a speech, but, to one person.
Yeah.
Just like acting for camera, acting for stage. It is a creative form of communication. You have to understand the technical elements of it too, because we're dealing with microphones and all the stuff that James is such an expert at. But you have to understand that first and foremost is the acting. Yeah. Having just that unbeatable, buttery, wonderful golden voice, that's awesome. I mean, that does give you an advantage. If you also are a good actor.
Yeah.
You can't just have the voice.
Yeah.
I think you have to have something about your voice that's appealing or unique or listenable. Because I remember the very first workshop I was in with Paul Armbruster, like there were a lot of people in that workshop. Yeah. And when I did my first commercial read, he said, "You have a voice that's marketable right now." I'm like, "I do." And I had no idea what I was doing, but it just cuts through and it's sincere. Yeah. I had a client tell me once, many, many years ago, it was for the Crown Plaza spot, the Crown Royale spot, actually. And we were in the session, and he turns to the other producers, and he said, "Gosh, he really sounds like he means it." Right? Like he sounds like he means what he's saying. Yeah. I thought, well, and I was thinking to myself, well, that's my job. I'm an actor. I need to convince you that But not to get too off track. So having that golden, wonderful voice, because we have students that come through all the time, and you hear them on the mic, and you're like, my goodness, I could listen to that all day long. It's that, but the ones that are going to be successful also understand they have to be good actors and are willing to study and train to be good actors. But you can have any kind of voice in the world, and if you train and study and are a good actor, there'll be a place for you. Yeah. You don't have to have that golden melodic voice to be very successful in voiceover, because a lot of it is guy next door, girl next door, best friend. It's not necessarily that deep, rich. That's not everything. Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that's great about our business. There's so many needs, and so many types of voices are needed. Right. Yeah. So you can have the craziest little, voice and even an accent, and still, if you understand what this is, you can find your fit if you study acting first. And you can have a great melodic, beautiful voice, and you'll be successful if you study the acting. So I think understanding that this is way more than about a voice. Like you said, I think, Mike, it's not about having a great voice. It's about what you do with your voice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you said that. Either you said that, I said that, or Morgan Freeman said that.
Basically the same. Basically all the same.
It's not about having a great voice. It's about doing great things with your voice. Because if you think about it, we all have a voice. Yeah. Everyone has a voice. And some people have to find their voice. Yeah. Some people come into our workshops to find their voice. Yeah. I've had a few students come through that aren't necessarily interested in this as a career. They just want to get out of themselves and to be able to speak and express themselves. Yeah. Now, we're not speech therapists, and that's a whole different thing. Right. Yeah. But finding your authentic voice and your authentic point of view. Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then having the diversity to change that point of view depending on the script, that's where the acting comes in. Yep. So, because you're not always just being yourself. Right. Terry Berland says, find yourself in the script. Find yourself in the script. Which sounds very ethereal, but it's just like, I think she gave me a Jeep spot to do. Yeah. Right? And I didn't have a Jeep at that point, right? She said, but, decide who you are. Tell me who you are. And I said, okay, I'm a adjunct professor at a liberal arts university. My family has a mountain cabin, and we love off-roading in my sister's Subaru. And I did the spot, and she goes, oh, my God, that was perfect. And what a great story. And I said, but it's true. Every bit of that is true. And then I bought a Jeep. Right? But I found, and a lot of times I'll still take that advice too, talking about good advice. Like right after I took her workshop, I had a Bud Light audition. And I had never in all these years booked an alcohol spot. I don't have that kind of, I don't know why, because I certainly consume enough of it. So I'm thinking about what Terry said the day before, and I'm looking at the Budweiser, and it was about enjoying that Budweiser after a long day's work or something. And I thought, well, I'm not that guy. I don't like Budweiser, frankly. But I am the guy who loves to enjoy a Corona on the beach with his sisters every summer when we go for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I booked it.
That's awesome.
Now, coincidence or whatever, who cares? I booked it, right? But I was thinking about it in a different way. So that was very good advice too, to put yourself in, like find what you personally connect to in the script, even if it's a reach and you're substituting the product. In the commercial world, a lot of people say commercial scripts are so, how do you make that natural? But you can find something to connect with.
Totally.
And you have to, because you're speaking from the point of view of advocating this product and telling someone how great it is.
Yeah, absolutely.